Okay, hello, welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is actually, there's no guest today. This is a rare solo episode. So it's just going to be me, just going to be my voice waffling on for this episode. Reason being, the solo episode, this is going to be a bit of an end of year review from myself, having a little bit of a reflection on the year just gone, what's been happening, things that have gone on, and mainly talking about stuff I've learned over the last 12 months about myself, business, recruitment, and as usual, life in general. So let's get into it. 2023, the year just gone, as normal with any year, really. It's been a year of ups and downs, plenty of ups, lots of downs, uncertainties, silver linings, tough lessons learned, but a lot of fun had along the way, work wise, in the world of recruitment and my role. Plenty happening. Main sort of headline news: company rebrand, out with the old BMS name, in with Talent Forge Australia, which is really exciting and something that is definitely positive news. It's a change for myself and a lot of the team members who've worked for BMS for a long time, worked under the BMS name. To be working and launching our own company is something that's really cool, really exciting, and it's an opportunity and platform for us to do lots of great things. Hopefully, twinge of sort of sadness to sort of not work for BMS anymore, because I definitely was attached to the company. Joe from BMS, managed to sort of build my own little brand around that tagline. So I'm definitely still getting used to being Joe from Talent Forge, but all part of the process. And while very much in its infancy, I think the Talent Forge name, Talent Forge rebrand that we've gone through, and I caught up with the team up in Sydney recently. Definitely, so much exciting things happening, and loads of ways we can hopefully grow our company in the next period of time. So yeah, that's something that was definitely the sort of headline news work wise over the last year. In terms of nuts and bolts of the job, I think the market conditions, I'd say indifferent, up and down, probably not as buoyant as it has been over, maybe the 2 years prior, 2021, 2022. However, definitely, really happy with the performance I put in this year, and the team, to set the numbers that we did, and very proud of that, and really can't complain and can't knock it. So again, very, very excited about that. Personally, first full year living in Melbourne, full 12 months, and my first time really feeling sort of settled here, settled in this city. I love the sort of life I'm slowly sort of putting together here. It's a really great city. It's definitely feeling like home for me. So that's sort of what's been going on. The main piece of this episode is to sort of talk about, I guess, the sort of the lessons I've learned over the last 12 months. Mainly from the work I do, to the life experiences I've had, to the people I've spoken to the reading that I've done, and the guests I've had on this show. I've definitely learned a lot, from people that I've been speaking to and interviewing since launching this podcast at the start of the year. So let's get into it. So I think one of the first things that I've had a sort of a rethink of is, you don't have to change the game and do drastic moves, every single day. I used to sort of come into work on a daily basis and be like, right, let's smash it today. Let's break into a new account. Let's have an amazing day on activity and just kill it today. Yeah, I still sort of think like that. but it's more just the term move the needle, just nudge it forward a little bit every day. Come in, show up, whatever you're trying to achieve that day, put in a shift, whatever it is. Say it's growing this podcast, right? Let's reach out to a few guests every day. Say it's looking to break into some new accounts. Block out a bit of time and send some prospecting activities towards them. Say it's your performance in the gym. Just show up, work on maybe even just getting a few seconds faster in the workout, or just lifting a few kilos more. Doesn't have to set any records. Just nudge that needle forward every single day and show up repeatedly. Over time, the results will come. So don't stop trying to change the world in a day. It is a message that I've learned about myself. Just show up, move the needle, and good things and results happen over time. Second thing, this is more personal. I turned 30 in the middle of the year in July, which, let's be honest, it is a somewhat of a, big milestone, so to speak. Every decade is. I wasn't really feeling, too much about it in the run up to it. Actually kind of crept up on me a little bit. I decided to, because I didn't really have much plan for it when it came out. I was like, I should probably do something for it. I booked a couple of holidays to the US and Europe, like for a couple of months afterwards, as a bit of a 30th present to myself, because I did want to recognize it. But a lot of people ask me, how do you feel like turning 30, and what's your sort of headspace and mindset about it? And I didn't really have heaps of sort of epiphanies. One thing I did have is, shit, my 20s is over. That's gone. Not getting that back. That's how I spent my 20s is how I spent it. I can't change that. And while I'm no sort of regrets from that time, it just made me realize, like, life is short. So now in my 30s, I want to make sure that I make the most of it every single day, every single year. Career-wise, it's about, I think, coming into your 30s is really about picking a lane. And I spoke to my old man, my dad, when I was back in the UK. He was saying, he gave me some really good advice about in your career, you're sort of between the age of 30 and 45. That's when you're really looking to make hay, and that's the sort of the bulk of your opportunity in your career to do what you want to do. So it made me realize the time is now. The time is now. If you want to make stuff happen, you turn 30. Your 20s are a little bit for trying stuff and not pissing about, but just having a bit more fun maybe. When you turn 30, now's the time to pick a lane and go after it. At the same time, I didn't turn 50. It made me realize, I've turned 30, but I don't feel old. I feel like I'm coming into my prime, and I'm still going to have fun, and I'm still going to try and experience life in at a fast pace, because I do feel at a sort of prime age. So maybe that resonates with anyone who turned 30, maybe not. But that were my thoughts around turning that milestone earlier this year. Another thing to realize that I've put, but more about myself personally and more at work. This is around the sort of topic of leadership. It's definitely a thing that I'm still figuring out. I think that's probably true for anyone, but in my infancy, let's say, of the leadership journey that I've been going through at BMS Talent Forge now, I haven't quite cracked it yet. I still need to probably put in more reps. I still need to probably fail at it more. I probably haven't failed enough. I need to really, go at it harder and try and grow the team personnel wise. And that's really a goal for me over the next couple of years, to really try and crack that. So hopefully me putting down this in this episode is somewhat of something to keep me accountable for it if I do ever end up listening to this back. So leadership, still figuring it out. Next thing, life is pretty much a never-ending series of ups and downs. It's never It's never always good, or it's never always, shit, or it sucks. When and often when you're experiencing lots of ups and lots of highs, inevitably something will come for you, out of nowhere, and kick you in the nuts and bring you back down to earth. And often when it does, it's your own ego that's at play there. I've had that, won't go into details, but a couple of times this year when I'm thinking, I'm king of the world or whatever, not quite king of the world, but I'm thinking life is all roses, and then suddenly out of nowhere, something will come out and bring me down a peg or two, which is, as I say, often the own ego at fault, but it's something I really realized this year. It's just up, down, down, up. It's never stable, but you just got to learn to accept that, and that actually almost makes the downs easier to deal with, I think. Next point. This is something, again, learned this year about long-term thinking, and I'm trying to weave the idea of infinite games into my life. The idea of infinite games is something that I think I heard on a podcast at some point this year. Basically, gamifying concepts in your life. So it's stuff that almost doesn't feel like work, but is work to a lot of people, and find those things and then make that an infinite game that you're playing throughout your life. Because if you can find stuff that doesn't feel like work, that does feel like work to other people, you're most likely going to be able to be consistent at it and show up again and again. So for me, the ideas of that around probably fitness and my job work as a recruiter, I'm setting these long, almost sort of purpose-driven goals that are 5-10 years down the track, because I enjoy the process of chasing a goal, playing these infinite games more than I do when I hit a goal, if that makes sense. So when I hit a goal, actually, or work toward, I achieve something I've been working towards, I don't necessarily feel that amazing about it. I'm like, cool, what's next? I actually enjoy the doing, the process of the chasing of the goal more than the achieving of the goal. So setting these long-term infinite games, for instance, to be the greatest recruiter I possibly can be, is a massive long-term goal, but it gets me out of bed and just working towards that every day. Just going back to the first point, moving the needle, just nudging it forward every day. That's the kind of shit that gets me going. That's the kind of infinite game I want to play. Same with fitness. Like, I'm not going to set PRs every day, but just nudging that game forward and just improving that fitness over time is a concept that kind of really resonated with me. It's like, don't try and change the world in 6 months. Set these long-term goals that 5-10 years down the line, these infinite games that you end up playing with yourself. And the reality is, by doing the stuff over long periods, you achieve lots of stuff in the meantime, in the 1-2 years that you've been playing those games. So that is definitely something that really hit me hard this year, and something I really have been thinking about a lot. Next thing is around the idea of discipline. Now, it's something I learned and copied from Stephen Bartlett, one of the his podcasts, one of the biggest on the planet, Diary of a CEO. He talks about it in his book as well that I read this year, and he created this equation all around discipline, because he was trying to figure out why he was disciplined in some areas of his life and not in other areas. And if you think about it, the main reason that you become good at something or don't succeed and fail at something is it all comes down to discipline. So if you think about anything in your life that you've maybe had success at, it's because you've been able to stick at it and show up repeatedly and have that level of discipline. And if you think about anything that you've failed at, it's because you probably weren't disciplined enough, and you weren't consistent at showing up over a period of time. And I started to think about it in my own life, like areas that I've shown success in. Yes, I've had discipline, and areas that I haven't. Why is that? And basically, he came up with this equation, which I love and now think about all the time. Basically, it's if you think of any topic or anything you've done in your life, give a score out of 10, say, to firstly, how important that goal is to you. Then plus out of 10, how much enjoyment you get from the pursuit of that goal. And then minus the pain of the pursuit of that goal. Like how much does it sort of hurt, and how much, the pain does it sort of cause you to pursue it. And if that score is, say, over 10, after plussing those first two and then minusing the third, you will have enough discipline to succeed at it. And if it's under 10, you will not. So, for example, I've done this podcast. Yes, it hasn't exactly blown up or anything, but I've managed to stay disciplined at it. I've done 50 episodes this year. And if I put it through the equation, so how important is it me to launch this podcast and show up repeatedly out of 10? Probably an 8. How much do I enjoy the process of doing the podcast, i.e. recording the episode, chasing up guests, editing? Probably, again, an 8. So we're on 16. How much pain does it cause me? As in, how much, by maybe missing, spending my weekends editing the episodes or publishing it, or I might have to miss a social event to record an episode, just for example, out of 10. Like, that pain is actually quite low. I don't mind it because I the first two are high. I really enjoy the process of it. So how much pain? Probably a 3. So we've got 16 minus 3, 13. So it's above 10, hence why I've showed discipline at it. On the flip side, an example for me is I've talked for years about learning Spanish. So put that through the equation, the goal of being able to speak fluent Spanish. How important is that goal to me out of 10? Yeah, it's something I, would like to do, but it's not something that keeps me awake at night. I don't, it's not that important to me to be able to speak Spanish. So out of 10, it probably gets a 5. How much enjoyment do I get from the process? From doing the Duolingos, from going to the Spanish classes that I used to go to. Probably, again, a 5. I do enjoy it, but not compared to other stuff in my life. I don't enjoy it that much. So it puts me on 10, minus the pain of the process. The pain is quite high. I really suck at the lessons. I don't enjoy it that much. It's probably a 7. So 10 minus 7, 3. We're not even close. So that's why, and ultimately I've given up. So that's why I haven't been able to show any kind of level of discipline in that. So have a think about that maybe in your life if you're listening to this. Stuff that you're showing discipline at, stuff that you haven't. Put it through that equation. And the main takeaway of this is if there's something that, say, you're not disciplined at, but you want to show more discipline at, find ways of increasing that score out of 10 for the first 2. So make it more important. How can I make it more important? How can I enjoy the process more? Could I compete with friends? Whatever you need to do. Find someone accountable or gamify it somehow. That's another way I found to improve the score of those first 2 to become more disciplined at it. Because, like I said, that area of discipline, if you do want to succeed at anything, that's where you got to show up time and time again. Discipline, not motivation. Discipline is the key to that. Okay, a couple of final points on this solo episode. Things I read a book, Dan Carter, The Art of Winning, earlier this year. I'm not a huge rugby fan, but Dan Carter was a player that I loved, and when I saw his book come out, so I think I listened to him on a couple of podcasts. Like, this guy's super impressive. Want to read his book. He talks about one of the lessons is in his book around finding your purpose. I know it's a bit of a buzzword, sort of finding your purpose, but he outlines it as a sort of tool to achieve your goals. So before setting goals and stuff like that, find an overarching purpose that sort of goes above the actual goal, if that makes sense, because that's the stuff you stick to. So he talks about how he has to repurpose himself after retirement, and he had to sort of find a deep meaning and purpose. It goes back to the sort of Simon Sinek, find your why sort of thing, but finding an overarching purpose to what you do in your life and your work is something I've had to personally, I guess, reevaluate this year. And that chapter in that book, maybe I haven't explained it that well, but that chapter in that book from Dan Carr really spoke to me, I guess. And one final point, as we sort of end the year, something I've been thinking about recently, and a mindset I want to have in the next couple of years. These are, I spoke to my mate about this the other day, these are the glory days. These are the glory years. There's going to be a point in time, maybe you listen to this, I don't know how old you are, but if you're in the sort of somewhere of the peak of your work life or your career, these are the years that when you're older, this is going to be the point that you're going to look back and be like, fuck, that was a good time. Like, working in whatever industry you are, say you work in sales or recruitment. These are the years working, having fun with your mates, doing a job that you hopefully enjoy, doing it for the reasons that you do it. You're going to look back with a whole heap of nostalgia and be like, oh, that was the good times. That was the glory years. So I really want to have that sort of mindset, because it won't last forever. Something will change in your career and your life that you no longer do what you do. And I'm including myself in that. Who knows what's around the corner, but there will be a period of time you'll look back on your life right now and be like, shit, that was the glory years. I wish I'd enjoyed them a little bit more. So that's my final point for this episode. And that's going to be me signing off. If you have listened to this show at all this year, I'd really appreciate it, because it's something that's important to me. I'm looking to take it to the next level next year. I'm going to get some new guests on. I'm working on that. But if you have listened, if you have got anything from it, I do really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more episodes of Hiring and Inspiring in the new year. Cutler out.